Well, Phil, a guest that I've been looking forward to meeting for a long time and anticipated this with a great deal of pleasure. Don Lunn, good evening.
Good evening, Bruce. Good evening, Philip.
Hi, Don. Wonderful that you could come on. Remember when?
Don, could I just introduce you as we used to at 3UZ? Have a listen.
Make way for the fabulous Mr. D. Here comes the fabulous Mr. D. He's here to bring the best to you. Hits, records, all brand new, so get with the fabulous Mr. D. We know that you're all gonna be enjoying every minute, so listen and he'll spin it. Meet the fabulous Mr. D.
Bring back a few memories, Don?
It does indeed. Philip would be the one that had that jingle, I bet.
No, that's been in my possession for many years.
I don't even have one.
Well, I'll do a dub for you.
Thank you.
The daddy-o of the radio. I have to tell you, Don, that for years you've been our hero, both Bruce and myself, because without aging you, I was still at school when I first used to listen to you doing Top 40 on the grader.
Somebody told me to get on your show, you have to be a certain age anyway. So I'm already aged.
Yeah, you're in good company. We talked to people like Bob Hope and George Burns.
Oh, great.
When did it all start for you, Don?
Huh?
When did it all start for you and where?
Back in Tasmania, in Launceston, or as they say over there, Launceston.
And what sort of radio were you doing then, Don?
I started out as a news reader at the Examiner station 70X. And,
Right.
progressed to nighttime disc jockey type stuff.
When you came over, you brought a totally different sound to Melbourne radio. You brought a technical quality where the singing along with jingles and commercials, we'd never heard anything like that before.
They were idiots over there, of course, so that's probably why I got the job.
It must have been a strain, though, Don, month after month.
Well, year after year. Sorry about the noise in the background. We've got a poker game going on down here. No, year after year of the early morning show, the breakfast show.
Yeah.
10 years straight on the Greater 3UZ.
We'll never forget it. And, you know, to my mind, there was a sort of an Americanized style about your work. Did you sort of base what you were doing on somebody that you admired overseas, Don?
No, but I'd heard a lot of American radio, and I had a program, an exchange program, with a guy over there in North Dakota, in a place called Minot, and I was probably influenced by the Americans a little bit.
Who was Moondoggy, Don?
Moondoggy was my panel operator.
Did he go on and do other things?
He did. As a matter of fact, Bob Dennis went on to join that Yank in Adelaide, Street Remmel.
Oh, yes. Yep.
You've had a few call signs in your time, and while I was on the Gold Coast, I think you'd spent a stint up there yourself for Barry Ferber. You've moved around a bit, Don.
No, I was with 91.7, the FM radio station.
All right, with Bill...
Well, you were up there, but I had been with Barry in the early 70s.
Yes.
At Double G.
Right.
K-Rock. And I went up there. That was my first station after leaving the Greater 3UZ.
You've had a few call signs to your name over the years, and I presume that after a period you get a bit restless, do you?
Well, my current manager says I'm very movable. He says a very movable blighter, which is probably true. About 20 radio stations in 40 years. It's not a very good batting average. When
Has it been 40 years for you?
Nearly 40, yeah.
You and Graham Kennedy had a great working relationship. I remember him mentioning you quite a lot on air.
Yes, I had a lot of respect for Graham, and I think Graham, in some ways, for my work on radio.
Don, there was a period 20 years ago, when you were my boss for 12 months. Tell us about your venture into travel down in Beaumaris and how you came to employ Philip Brady.
Well, we needed somebody to love the Blue Rinse set, so we went for Dimples. And I can remember Philip, most of the time I heard Philip on the phone when he was at the office. He was always talking to his mother about what vegetables to eat for lunch.
That sounds right.
That's basically what I remember about Philip, but he was very good with the ladies.
Well, thank you. You were never there. You were always in America chasing Sinatra. I was always looking after the office for you.
That's right, I was always away because they were freebies.
You were a great Sinatra fan, weren't you, Don?
You bet.
Where did that love come from? Just his presence and his songs?
No, I think probably because when I was a youngster, he was the man. Well, he was one of the singers, and I was always a fan of his.
Did you get the chance to meet him and interview him?
Oh, many times. Yes, I did. And one of the memorable times was when John Laws, Bob Rogers, and a few other hand-picked people had dinner with Frankie Boy up in Sydney, in which Sinatra had us at his own table at the hotel and actually served the dinner.
Gee, you're kidding. He waited on you.
He waited on us, yeah. He was
what sort of a man was he to you, Don? What are your memories of Sinatra?
Well, Sinatra as a man, as a person, was just fantastic. If you just wanted to talk music and exchange man-type jokes, he was just fabulous. It was the idiot reporters who always asked about his sex life or his past sweetheart or ex-wife who he had a running battle with. But as a person, he was just terrific.
Have you ever appeared on television or had any desire to do so, Don?
I was at Channel 9 for a year. I was the all-night news man.
Oh, yes.
So you were, yes.
Yeah, 1985, 86.
That's right.
Yeah.
That was sort of a bit out of character for you, wasn't it? Because you've always come across on air as sort of very flippant and, Dr. Fun and all that sort of thing.
Well, I wanted to be flippant and that fun type of presentation, but I think it was a little bit too early. Robbo, of course, is doing it now, and other people are doing that sort of thing in the United States. I think I was a bit too early.
Don Lunn, our special guest tonight on Remember When, and you'll remember this little jingle.
Don't move your dial, just keep it set at 930, 'cause you're gonna get the latest in news, the greatest in sport, time checks, and weather reports. So stay right here and lend an ear to the greater 3UZ.
Don, your breakfast programs were so incredibly tight. Did you pre-tape any of the breakfasts or any part of them?
It was all live. All completely live.
Brilliant.
Are we on delay here? Because I don't seem to have some continuity with you.
Yes, we're still with you. Keep the radio turned down. You're coming through loud and clear.
I'm not listening to it. I'm just wondering on the phone, that's all.
Oh, no, you're fine. But in all your years, and you say almost 40 years as a top DJ, tell me the truth. Have you ever played a record at the wrong speed, or have you ever come over the top of a record and blown it by coming over the vocal? Because I haven't heard you do it.
Well, I've played a record at the wrong speed. Oh, you bet. Everybody's done it.
But as Bruce says, you've got a reputation for such tight presentation.
Well, this is true. I spent a lot of time in preparation, but no, we all make gaffes. And
What's the worst one you've ever made, Don?
Oh, swearing.
We mightn't get you to repeat that tonight.
Well, no. Probably a good idea.
What was your time in the breakfast? What was your arrival time in the station, Don?
I always got there. You could set your watch by my arrival. I used to get there at 10 to 5 every morning.
And what would your duties be first up?
Read the newspaper.
Right.
And then just look at the songs and what order we play them at, and look at the log, commercial content. And
I recall you were rating number 1, and it was an incredibly heavy log in those days.
Well, they had regulations in those days where you're supposed to play 80 minutes to the hour. That was the complete saturation. We used to be able to squeeze in 22 minutes, 24 minutes. Christmas time, who knows?
And, of course, the fish bowl out of Chadstone?
You. Yes.
Sunday afternoons.
It's the top 40.
That's right.
After 40 years of this, don't you ever tire of, when you're playing flashbacks, as you do, of introducing still Gene McDaniels and Frank Sinatra and songs you've been playing for 30 or 40 years? Do you ever get a bit bored that you're in a rut, perhaps?
No, I don't think you can beat the music. The music, it never ages. You mentioned Gene McDaniels. I can hear Gene McDaniels every day. I think it's just great. We don't play Sinatra as such on Gold 104, but he only had one really big hit, Strangers in the Night, but McDaniels had a whole string.
By the way, Gene McDaniels is still around, and these days he's producing albums, Don, for Nancy Wilson.
Is he really?
Yes, he is. That's the word from Nancy.
And he was such an incredible person on stage too. Did you ever see him live, Philip?
No, I didn't, but I have all his records, Don.
He was out here. He did one tour of Australia in 1961 or 62.
Then I think he faded out for a while. I think he had problems in his personal life, and he never sort of surfaced again as a solo artist, did he?
No, he didn't. He came from a Baptist background like Aretha Franklin, and he had that real soul touch.
What do you think of the current crop of performers on record?
No comments.
You just can't handle them?
Well, I mean, musically, I think we're going through the doldrums at the moment. I think the 90s has got to be the pits, quite frankly. I mean, with the exception of Southern Sons and Johnny Farnham, and we do have Barnsey, but by and large, a lot of that stuff that's coming out is pretty, ordinary.
Tell us about some of the other celebrities that you've got to know over the years, American stars that perhaps you've interviewed or been out on a boat with or had lunch with, and who impressed you, Don?
Who impressed me? Boy, what a question. I really think you can't go past Sinatra. I was very disappointed seeing Sinatra in concert last year here because the man had lost it, his timing, that magic. I met Elvis. He was just terrific.
Memories of Elvis for us, please?
Memories of Elvis. I was talking to Elvis, and I said, would you mind signing this for me? I'll take it back to Australia. And he said, no problem, sir. And he called everybody sir, and he was so polite to people that hounded him,
Yeah. There's a fellow in here tonight called Rick Milne who has some very great memories of you out at Chadstone selling records.
What, me selling records? Oh, admire.
Yeah.
Was he there? Or?
Yes, he was selling them with you.
Incredible. Did we sell many?
Not many, I don't think.
Don, you've mentioned your 20 call signs over 40 years. What's been the happiest time in your life professionally?
Professionally, I think I couldn't go past New Zealand. Radio Windy.
Oh, tell us why.
Why? Because the 2 years I had there, the people were just fantastic, regardless of how we perceive Kiwis in Australia. When you're in their country, they're so hospitable, their radio standard is so high, and I had just a wonderful time over there.
They are a radio country, aren't they, New Zealand?
So they've got about 10 new call signs in Auckland and 10 new call signs in Wellington since deregulation, and everybody's got an FM station.
Hey, Don Lunn, here's to the next 40 years, buddy.
Yeah, see you in the next lifetime.
Don, what about an oop-oop-a-doo before we go?
Well, let's see if I can do a Kennedy one here. Oop-oop-a-doo, and how are you?
Make way for the fabulous Mr. D. Here comes the fabulous Mr. D. He's here to bring the best to you. It's records all brand new, so get with the fabulous Mr. D. We know that you're all gonna be enjoying every minute, so listen and he'll spin it